Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. I've just finished recording all of the dev server videos that I wanted to do, and I'm sure as the updates roll in on the dev server, we'll make some more. So that's why my voice sounds a little bit weird right now. What I thought we would do is talk about some things that BVVD has said in the Russian dev stream. Obviously, for me, I don't speak Russian, not very good at it, and to be honest, don't really have any interest in it. But there are a lot of people in the world that do, which is great, because it means that we can get access to all forms of information, not just from the English-speaking area, but from other ones too. And on the Russian dev stream, BVVD talked about a bunch of different stuff, which is coming in not just for Russia, but also the general setup. Another thing I would also like to mention is when I talked about the dev server leaks earlier, I did miss out something. There was supposedly some new maps, one called Yugovaria and another called Almasa. No idea what either of those are, unless Yugovaria means something like Yugoslavia, like it's an old name of it, and then also the other one, no idea. Maybe you guys know more than I do. But I thought what we would do is talk about what BVVD discussed on the kind of stream. So who is BVVD? He's the kind of creative director for War Thunder, is probably the best way of putting it. He's one of the decision men when it comes to War Thunder. So when he actually speaks on a topic, it is very much worth listening. And in this time, he actually talked about a bunch of different topics across the board. The first one was about the Russian vehicles. So they talked about the LMUR, which is the new missile coming in for Russia, the Fire and Forget one, which is coming on the Mi-28NM. There is another vehicle that has also been seen to fire it, which is the Ka-52M, which is a modernized version of the Ka-52. And he said that this is going to be coming soon with the LMUR and also other weapons which are unique to it. So look forward to another crazy Russian helicopter coming in with all the different bells and whistles of the Ka-52 and then some, making it incredibly powerful going across. He also said that there was going to be some new ammo fire effects, which some of them we see on the dev server. They look kind of weird, if I'm honest with you. They look like they're different, like FPS compared to the rest, which I know doesn't make a lot of sense, but when you have somebody like moving through let's say a scene and they're running at like 60 FPS but the scene itself is running at 30, it looks really odd, and that's basically what's happening on the dev server with them right now. So that is a bit weird. BVD also talked about the Black Eagle, the Object 640. If you remember, this was leaked maybe, I don't even know, half a year ago, about it being the summer event for this year. And then it turned out it wasn't the summer event. And then the leak changed to a winter event. So we're probably looking forward to it for the winter event. But this is basically what BVVD talked about. Now remember, this is a translation, so things might be a bit more skew with. Maybe people can give more context. But basically, BVVD has never seen the Black Eagle tank shooting. So he doesn't know how to add that to the game, because he's not sure how the reloading mechanism works. So they don't want to invent things for themselves when there are so many other projects they know how to add. So basically, because they're not entirely sure how it works, and also because there's no footage of it or, no specific diagrams about it, they would rather go forward with different things that they do know more about. This could even be like the Armata prototypes or even other vehicles with just bigger guns. Because obviously there's a lot of people who are looking forward to weird and wonderful prototypes like the Black Eagle, but it's not as if Russia is short of crazy and weird prototypes which are actually way more successful than the Black Eagle itself. So the thing about this is it kind of puts down at least some of the rumors, or leaks I should say, about the Black Eagle coming. But at the same time, it doesn't completely dismiss them. We literally have stuff in the game where it's impossible to know how it works when it comes to real life. Only we see the kind of exterior of it. And also, we have a bunch of ships in the game which literally didn't exist. So they are guesstimating how all of that stuff works. Same with a lot of top tier kind of vehicles in terms of War Thunder. There is no way that when they implemented the 2S38, for example, they knew exactly how all of the systems worked in it. that because they had to end up updating the model to show the differences between the time they added it and the time that it is now. So, I don't know. It seems like a bit of an excuse for me, but who knows? Anything is kind of possible when it comes to our boy BVD. The other thing he also said is a new tour for Russia coming soon, but maybe not in the next update. They actually said when they added the tour to the Chinese that eventually the Russians would get one, and it's been a long time since the Chinese have had their tour. They even have the HQ-17 now, which is a kind of further variant of it. So Russia getting a tour wouldn't be too surprising. It would just be more interesting to see how it actually fit in the Russian tech tree, because right now Russia has quite a lot of strong AAs. The Tunguska is really nice. You know, the tracking radar isn't exactly the best, but everything else about it is lovely. And then also the Panzer is obviously incredibly good. And now they're getting the Buk, which has an insane warhead on its missile. So maybe if it could fit in that 11.3, 11.7 area, then I suppose it would make sense. But we'll see what kind of goes on. Also, he did say that the American tech tree, or USA, and also China will get their own heavy or medium range AA. So one of the problems with the more recent updates is, yes, they added in some better SAM systems, which are fantastic. They added in stuff like the IRIS, obviously the Humvees. They added in stuff like the Tan Sam Kai, which is fantastic. But there is a big difference between some of these specific AAs. So, for example, if you compare the IRIS TSLM to, let's say, let's say even to the new SAMPT, or even to the Swedish vehicle, the Elder 98, the power level between them is completely different. And that's just a problem when it comes to just real life, but also, that has to be kind of counteracted in the game. So even with these new AAs, there are certain nations which are way further ahead than others in terms of the technology that they have in the game itself. So this is BVD going, okay, we know that, and we are going to kind of sort that out. So look forward to more kind of medium or bigger AAs for America. I mean, the Patriot is kind of just chilling there, just, enjoying its time as, you do. Right now, it's just kind of like an AI set of vehicles, just wandering about, wondering what life is about. Yeah, that's going to come. It's now that we've had these multi-vehicle ones, there's no way the Patriot missile system doesn't make it. And then obviously China has their own versions of the multi-vehicle SAM setups. So no surprise that they're coming. The next piece of information is about the Grom 1. He basically said it's just not coming back anytime soon. No surprise there. The Grom 1, when it was on the dev server, was just completely busted. You think the KH-38 was bad? The Grom 1 would be infinitely worth. Because of the fact that it would be useful in all of the different game modes, and you basically just wouldn't even have to leave your airfield to be able to use them. It was insane on the dev server when people started using those things, and yeah, the fact that they already have some ridiculous missiles that are incredibly powerful, it's probably not the best to add even more of them, especially since they are the ones that are already there are kind of nuking the game. Talking about nukes, he did say there'll be new nuke bombers, which of course we've already talked about. The Su-24 is coming in, the F-111 is coming in, and also the Tornado is coming in as the new nuke bombers. And he talked about submarines. He said for submarines, we have to wait a bit more. Maybe they will say about them more after the next update, but nothing new to say about the modern naval stuff. Until they figure out how to make it fun to play, it's not a problem to make ships and missiles, which is something we've already seen, right? Like the issue is not the mechanics of these things. It is the simple fact that they're just not enjoyable. And this could be said about a lot of naval, but missile combat in naval is incredibly dull from a PvP point of view. There is no game that has been able to actually make it and make it fun from a PvP point of view. There's plenty of games that have done it from a PvE point of view, and those games usually have pretty small player bases, but at least it functions, right? Gaijin's problem with naval at the moment is not the fact that they could, they have like a problem with being able to model these things. It's literally working out how the hell do you get people to play them and enjoy it? And that has been the key issue for Naval for the longest time. It isn't new mechanics, it isn't new ships, it isn't anything like that. It's how do you make the game fun? And unfortunately, the vast majority of people don't find it fun. So that means it is in a rough place. And they're saying the same thing when it comes to these kind of modern missile destroyers, and also when it comes to the submarines too. They have to figure out a way to actually get people interested in playing them, because at the moment, it's just getting worse and worse. This is why they're doing all of these little changes here and there to either make it a bit more accessible or to make it, a little bit easier to play. They're just trying little things to try and increase the amount of people who are like, hey, this is pretty cool. And unfortunately, it doesn't seem to be working. And that is really sad. The last piece is about bigger drones getting access to maybe scouting and also some other weapons. Please no. Please, no. Drones, in general, were a big negative for the game. They're in a much better position now than they were when they first were added, because you can actually counter them with certain vehicles. But they are not a net positive on the game. They are a cheap way of people cheating the research system by basically being able to cheap out on a CAS vehicle and also not have any of the negatives of using the vehicle compared to what you would with a standard CAS one, e.g. repair cost and also other factors. So for me, it's a no. Don't add any more of that stuff. Just leave it by the wayside and work on other ways of people being able to defend against these CAS elements. So then going forward, you can have some plans to maybe introduce this stuff in the future. That's all of the thoughts. Let me know what you think. Let me know what's going through your brain. And as always, have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. I'd just like to thank GMG Smiley, CD Beans, Chieftain Mike, EMN3 Galaxy, Tulio Pontecorvo, Brendan Quinn, Carrion Crow, Gus Irenicus, Pyman, Wartinder, Teddy, Daniel Stanton, Martinez, B. Young, Ozzy Panzer, Alan Hacker, Liam Shear, Opium Prime, Lafouche, Sem Aslan, Uncle Bean, and Derek R. for supporting the channel.